I'm so looking forward to seeing your mother again. When I'm with her, I'm reminded of the virtues of the English.
But isn't she American?
Exactly. Oh, do you think I might have a drink? Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were a waiter.
I don't understand.
No, if you wish to understand things, you must come out from behind your prejudice and listen.
Why must she be so savage? It's my broken heart, and it was her advice that wrecked it in the first place.
Classic Rosamond. She's never more righteous than when she's in the wrong. Why the lamentation? You don't have to see him if you don't want.
Well, you make it sound so easy.
There's nothing simpler than avoiding people you don't like. Avoiding one's friends, that's the real test.
Have you come for dinner?
Oh, no, I'm dressed quite wrongly, and I know you have a guest.
I doubt Mr. Travers has much of an eye for fashion.
Well, did you keep up with them?
Oh, I'm afraid not. No, an unlucky friend is tiresome enough. An unlucky acquaintance is intolerable.
You're all heart.
If she's fighting for her causes again, that seems a good sign.
A sign of what? That we should close the shutters and bar the door? Yeah. What do you mean a man's opened a colony in Essex?
Not that sort of colony, Mamma. It's for people who want to take all their clothes off.
In Essex? Isn't it terribly damp?
Would that make a difference?
Well, yes, if you had no clothes on. Well, I think it's a mad idea. Oh, really? It's like living in a second-rate hotel where the guests keep arriving and no one seems to leave. Do you think Robert has thrown in the towel prematurely? Good heavens, what am I sitting on?
A swivel chair.
Oh, another modern brainwave?
Not very modern. They were invented by Thomas Jefferson.
Why does every day involve a fight with an American?
I'll fetch a different one.
No. I'm a good sailor. Mary won't take Matthew Crawley, so we'd better get her settled before the bloom is quite gone off the rose.
Is the family an old one?
Older than yours, I imagine.
If I'm going to the theatre, then I ought to change.
Yes, I should. Spratt, I have told you before, I do not appreciate a man of mystery. If you have something to say, say it.
There's no logic in it.
Oh, no, but if I were to search for logic, I should not look for it among the English upper class.
I was only going to say that Sybil is entitled to her opinions.
No, she isn't until she is married. Then her husband will tell her what her opinions are.
Oh, Granny.
You see, I have no wish to be a great lady.
No, a decision that must be reinforced whenever you look in the glass.
How did they survive?
As servants and taxi drivers, milliners and prostitutes. Anything they could lay their hand to.
I will not suggest which of those callings the Princess Curagin was most suited.
Well, it is very hard.
Rosamond, you're addressing your mother, not the committee of the Women's Institute.
I can take you for a walk if you like.
Why would I want to walk? Poor Dr. Clarkson. What has he done to deserve that termagant? Well, I shall pretend it. I told her to take him. Your quarrel is with my daughter Rosamond, not me. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Would happen to a foreigner. It's typical.
Don't be ridiculous.
I'm not being ridiculous. No Englishman would dream of dying in someone else's house.
Sorry, but if Dr. Clarkson needs free labour, I'd prefer him not to find it in my nursery.
But Sybil isn't in the nursery.
No, and in case you hadn't noticed, she hasn't been there for some time.
You know what I mean.
Well, no, not really. You can't pretend it's not respectable when every day we're treated to pictures of queens and princesses in Red Cross uniform, ladling soup down the throat of some unfortunate.
But Sybil won't be ladling soup. She'll have to witness unimaginable horrors when she's an innocent.
Her innocence will protect her.
Yeah, for once I agree with Cousin Isabel. What's this?
Edith has had an invitation to write a newspaper column.
When may she expect an offer to appear on the London stage?
I'm studying, my lady. These days a working woman must have a skill.
But you seem to have so many. Think of the child. You cannot want your only granddaughter to grow up in a garage with that drunken gorilla.
She looks like a slut.
Oh, heavens. It's not a word you often hear among the heather.
Shall I change?
No, don't bother. It's only us.
And who are we to warrant any courtesy? I really think you should go to bed. No bride wants to look tired at her wedding. It either means she's anxious or been up to no good.
I won't sleep a wink.
Tonight or tomorrow?
Simple vulgarity is no substitute for wit.
Well, you started it.
We'd better go in without her, or it's not fair on Mrs. Patmore.
Oh, is her cooking so precisely timed? You couldn't tell.
This room is so pretty. Has the house always been the Painswicks' London home?
There's no always about the Painswicks, my dear. They were invented from scratch by my son-in-law's grandfather.
We bought the house when we were married.
You make Mr. Painswick sound rather a rough diamond, Lady Grantham.
Marmaduke wasn't a rough diamond, was he, Mamma?
No, he was just cut and polished comparatively recently.
Why don't I drive you?
She's taking enough chance with her life as it is.
Oh, Granny.
Well, I'm going up to London to stay with Rosamond for a day or two. I think we'll have Lavinia for tea.
You sound as if you're going to gobble her up.
If only we could.
I've left space at the front for Jules. I know Lavinia's getting something from Papa.
And for me, though she's so slight, a real necklace would flatten her.
What should we call each other?
Well, we could always start with Mrs. Crawley and Lady Grantham.
I thought you didn't like him.
Well, so what? I have plenty of friends I don't like. Well, prepare yourself for the worst. Not the first page. My poor niece never uses one word when 20 will do.
Sorry about the vase.
Oh, don't be. It was a wedding present from a frightful aunt. I have hated it for half a century.
I suppose you agree with Robert.
Then not for the first time, you suppose wrongly.
Oh, dear. I'm afraid the war has made old women of us both.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but then I always keep out of the sun. Yeah, how'd you find Downton on your return?
Much the same, really. Probably too much the same, but then I don't want to cast a pall over all the happiness.
How could you ever do that?
Oh, you two are dressed for a barbecue.
I feel like a Chicago bootlegger.
I don't even know what that means, but it sounds almost as peculiar as you look.
What about me? Where am I to go?
We still own most of the village.
Oh, perhaps I could open a shop. Say what you like, but I know you care about these things as much as I do.
No. Nobody cares about anything as much as you do.
Is this your first experience of jazz, Lady Grantham?
Oh, is that what it is? Do you think any of them know what the others are playing?
You'll be rewarded in heaven.
The sooner the better.
I feel rather guilty about leaving Isabel behind.
Why? She brought a book with her. That should keep her occupied. How about some house parties?
She's been asked to one next month by Lady Anne McNair.
Oh, it's a terrible idea. She doesn't know anyone under 100.
I might send her over to visit my aunt. She could get to know New York.
Oh, I don't think things are quite that desperate.
No, don't worry about that. I can handle her.
Really? Well, if you can, you must have learned to very recently. Please don't think we're ungrateful for your enthusiasm, Mrs. Crawley, but there comes a time when things are best left to the professionals. Is it an Irish tradition?
What? She means not changing.
Of course it isn't, Granny.
It might have been. You don't change on the first night of a voyage. Are you going up to the house to welcome the Queen of Sheba?
Oh, I think so.
Rosamond has no interest in French. If she wishes to be understood by a foreigner, she shouts.
That's not fair. I think she's splendid.
I think she's cracked. Oh, what on earth's the matter?
I'm leaving in the morning, Lady Grantham. I doubt we'll meet again.
Do you promise? Can I do it?
If you wish, my lady, of course.
I don't know.
Yeah, are you really that tall?
Yes, my lady.
Thought you might have been walking on stilts.
It's not of my doing. It's old Mary's own work. But I think we should encourage it.
Brangsom's a dull dog, but I don't suppose that matters.
Did you know his wife had died?
He only ever talks about racing.
Cora is right. Mary won't take Matthew Crawley, so we'd better get her settled before the bloom is quite gone off the rose.
Is the family an old one?
Older than yours, I imagine.
Old enough.
And there's plenty of money.
Really?
Mamma, you've already looked him up in the stud books and made inquiries about the fortune. Don't pretend otherwise. Are you afraid someone will think you're American if you speak openly?
I doubt it'll come to that.
Shall I ring for tea?
No, not for me. I'm meeting Cripps at 5. I'll see you at dinner.
You don't seem very pleased.
I'm pleased. It's not brilliant, but I'm pleased.
So?
I don't want Robert to use a marriage as an excuse to stop fighting for Mary's inheritance.
It won't make any difference. I don't think he has the slightest intention of fighting as it is. The price of saving Downton is to accept Matthew Crawley as his heir.
What about you?
I don't dislike Matthew. In fact, I rather admire him.
Is that sufficient reason to give him your money?
Well, of course not.
Then there's nothing more to be said. Are we going to have tea or not?
What a lovely day.
Are you quite sure about Lavinia?
She wasn't Sir Richard's mistress. She gave him the evidence to settle a debt of someone she loved.
And this is your beau, is it? A man who lends money, then uses it to blackmail the recipient?
He lives in a tough world.
And will you be joining him there?
Richard Carlyle is powerful. He's rich and getting richer. He wants to buy a proper house, you know, with an estate. He says after the war, the market will be flooded and we can take our pick.
Oh. And you can dance on the grave of a fallen family.
They will fall, lots of them. Some won't rise again, but I don't intend to be among them.
That leaves Matthew.
That's done now, Granny. Finished. It's time to move forward.
What about Sybil? Does she have anyone in her sights?
Not that I know of.
Are you sure she has no chap in mind? How odd. I had an endless series of crushes at her age.
I don't think so.
Not even some man she doesn't care to mention.
What do you mean?
Well, war breaks down barriers, and when peacetime re-erects them, it's very easy to find oneself on the wrong side.
Really, Granny, how can you say that I'm too worldly, but Sybil's not worldly enough? You cannot be so contrary.
I'm a woman, Mary. I can be as contrary as I choose. Dr. Clarkson, I am no Jacobin revolutionary, nor do I seek to overthrow the civilized world. We just need one bed for a young man from this village.
And if it were within my power, you should have it.
So you don't understand. William's father cannot afford to leave his farm and move to Leeds.
I'm very sorry. Really. But this is a military hospital, and it's not up to me to challenge the order of things.
I'll nurse him. I'm happy to do it. It wouldn't add to your workload.
If I were to break the rule for you, how many others do you think would come forward to plead for their sons? The answer is and must be no.
It always happens. When you give these little people power, it goes to their heads like strong drink. Yes, yes, the minister. Well, how many Marquises of Flintshire are there? Yeah, is this an instrument of communication or torture? Hello? Shrimpy? It's Aunt Violet. Yeah, very well, very... Yeah. And Susan? Yeah. Good. I won't beat about the bush, dear. Whom might we know on the board of Leeds General Infirmary? And has Lord Flintshire's order been acted on?
It has. There's an ambulance waiting. Although no one quite knows how you managed it.
What exactly is the matter with him?
His body sustained too much damage. He cannot recover.
But he looks so normal.
Appearances can be cruelly deceptive. The force of the blast has fatally injured his lungs.
But if he's lived this long...
Would it make any difference if he stayed here? Or are you just making him as comfortable as can be?
That's it. There's nothing more we can do for him.
So you agree with our plan?
I don't know about you, but I'd rather die in a familiar place, surrounded by familiar faces.
There you are, Mr. Mason. Seems we have everything settled. We'll be away before long.
He'll be forced to do better. If we can just get him back to where he knows, I feel sure of it.
I shouldn't worry too much. We'll know much more when he's rested.
I'm very grateful, my lady, to both of you.
Let's get him ready.
Why would I persuade your father otherwise when I agree with him?
How can you say that when you keep telling me to find something to do?
I meant run a local charity. Or paint watercolours or something.
Well, I'm going to London to see the editor tomorrow. And if I like him, then I'm going to say yes. I don't want to fall out with Papa, but I don't want to be invisible either. I've had enough of it.
Very well, I'm coming up tonight. I'll see what I can do. But I want a favour in return.
What time do you leave in the morning?
I thought I'd get the 10 o'clock. I'm meeting him for tea.
You're not encouraging this.
She hasn't agreed anything yet.
Mamma, talk to her. Talk to all of them. Say something sensible.
Yes, let's hear how a woman's place is in the home.
I do think a woman's place is eventually in the home, but I see no harm in her having some fun before she gets there.
Oh, Granny, thank you.
Have you changed your pills?
And another thing, I mean, Edith isn't getting any younger. I mean, perhaps she isn't cut out for domestic life. All I know is this. I find Peg in this room and my paper knife is gone. He comes into the room again and a very valuable piece of Japanese netsuke is missing.
Things.
I don't understand your position. Are you saying he's justified in stealing my possessions? Or do you not believe he took them?
I'm saying you put too much importance on material objects and not enough on justice.
Oh, really? I wonder you don't just set fire to the Abbey and dance round it, painted with woad and howling.
I might, if it would do any good.
What?
I beg your pardon, your ladyship.
No, don't apologise. I'm glad to have an ally in the room.
This was found in Betty's cleaning bucket. It must have rolled in there and she's just found it.
Oh. Thank you. I'm very relieved.
Relieved or irritated?
If that would be all, my lady.
Aren't you going to say you're sorry?
Certainly not. He may not have taken this, or he may have sneaked it into the maid's bucket when we weren't looking.
Oh, how you hate to be wrong.
I wouldn't know. I'm not familiar with the sensation.
So you're determined to dig in your heels?
I am sorry, but whether or not he took this, he certainly took the knife. That is all I have to say on the subject.
This seems very formal.
The Royal Yorkshire has written to all our financial donors to canvass their support for the takeover.
Which you'll agree is very sneaky.
I think it's sensible. The principal benefit of the new arrangement will be to make our money-raising activities more coherent and logical.
Well, there's no government funding available, either to them or to us.
Which means we'll become a ward of the larger establishment, while the local community forfeit any claims to being treated in their own village.
Well, that depends on how we divide the new departments.
In the end, surely, it comes down to how many lives will be saved.
Precisely.
Lord Grantham, are you saying we don't save lives?
Of course not.
If you can't say anything helpful, Robert, please be silent.
Helpful to whom? And why isn't Cora here?
It doesn't concern her. I am the president, you are the almoner, Dr. Clarkson runs the hospital, and Robert is the patron. And his father gave the land on which the hospital is built. The four of us constitute a quorum.
I disagree. Tell her about this meeting, and when you do, say that Cousin Violet would have kept the rest of us away if she could.
Don't give me ideas.
Mamma, may I present Matthew Crawley and Mrs. Crawley, my mother, Lady Grantham?
What should we call each other?
Well, we could always start with Mrs. Crawley and Lady Grantham.
Come into the drawing room and we can make all the proper introductions. Thank you, guys.
Do you think you'll enjoy village life? It'll be very quiet after life in the city.
Even Manchester?
I'm sure I'll find something to keep me busy.
You might like the hospital.
What sort of hospital is it? How many beds?
Well, it isn't really a hospital.
Don't let Dr. Clarkson hear you. He thinks it's second only to St. Thomas's.
It's a cottage hospital, of course, but quite well equipped.
Who pays for it?
Oh, good. Let's talk about money.
My father gave the building and an endowment to run it. In a way, he set up his own memorial.
But how splendid.
And Mr. Lloyd George's new insurance measures will help.
Please don't speak that man's name. We are about to eat.
But I'm afraid the good doctor and I did not see eye to eye.
Oh, you amaze me.
He's treating one of your tenants, John Drake, for dropsy, but seems reluctant to embrace some of the newer treatments.
Drake is a good man and far too young to die, but I suppose the doctor knows his business.
Not as well as Mrs. Crawley, apparently.
Mrs. Drake, the choice is simple. If your husband endures this procedure, he may live. If not, he will die.
Please, no, let me pass. I must see the doctor. At once.
Your ladyship.
It's just as I thought. Dr. Clarkson, tell me you will not permit this amateur to influence your professional opinion.
Amateur?
My dear woman, do not let them bully you. They'll not disturb the peace of your husband's last hours, not if I can help it.
But that's just it, my lady. I don't want them to be his last hours. Not if there's a chance. Please, Doctor, do what you must.
As
Steady. Yep, all right. Yep. Nice and steady.
As president of this hospital, I feel I must...
Valve.
Tell you, I shall bring this to the attention of the board.
You're doing very well.
Have you no pity?
Adrenaline. Quickly, quickly. His heart stopped.
Oh.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I like the new fashions. Shorter skirts, looser cuts. The old clothes were all very well if one spent the day on a chaise longue. But if one wants to get anything done, the new clothes are much better.
Yeah, I'll stick to the chaise longue.
But, Granny, you don't really want things to go back to the way they were, surely?
Of course I do, and as quickly as possible.
Matthew's making such progress.
I think so. But are we doing enough for him, for all of them, when it comes to rehabilitation? They're going to have to face a very different world after the war.
I agree. But they'll all be leaving Downton soon.
Leaving?
Well, Turkey's about to capitulate and Roberts's Vittoria Veneto will finish Austria, so it's only a matter of weeks, even days before it's over. We wouldn't send anyone home too soon, of course, but sometime in the new year, we will have our house back.
So you want it just to be a private house again?
Or shouldn't she? Or would you like to abolish private houses?
Well, that life of changing clothes and killing things and eating them, do you really want it again? Wouldn't you rather Downton was useful?
Oh, but the house is useful. We provide employment and...
Oh, please. Let me look into keeping it open as a centre of recovery. I could run it. The house could be so much more than it was before.
What about you, Molesley? Are you looking forward to this brave new world of Mrs. Crawley's imaginings?
I'm glad of my job, m'lady. And I should very much like to hold on to it, with Mrs. Crawley's permission.
Servants are always far more conservative than their employers. Everyone knows that.
Then I must be the exception that proves the rule. The war may be at an end, but the upheaval is only beginning.
Oh, how right you are. That is why Downton Abbey still has such an important role to play.
Oh, dear me. There's so much to be done. When you think of all the children laid up with the disease.
But they're making such advances now, aren't they? Now, could we talk about the lecture programme for Downton?
We must. If only I wasn't haunted by those women whose jobs will be snatched from them when the boys come home.
But we have to find work for our heroes, don't we? That must be our priority, however hard that might sound.
As you say. And what about those wretched refugees? What will become of them?
Ah, now you've struck a chord.
Have I really? Oh, thank heaven.
What do you mean?
Nothing. Only the thought of those poor men and women flung across Europe, far from their homelands, and so much in need of your help.
My help? Why do you say that?
When it comes to helping refugees, your experience renders your value beyond price. One of the organisers said those words.
Which organiser?
I forget.
But what about running Downton? I can't do both.
Well, I suppose you must decide what is more important. Exercise classes and lectures on pottery, or helping men and women build a new life.
I must go. But I will think about it.
This was very good.
It was. It really was.
You don't sound so surprised.
I am surprised. I owe Ethel an apology. I've underestimated her.
I sometimes wonder if I should learn to cook.
Why?
You never know, it might come in handy one day. And I've got to do something.
What did you say to that editor who wanted you to write for him?
I haven't said anything yet. It's probably too late now, anyway.
Matthew tells me Robert was against it.
What difference does that make?
Oh, really, my dear? Shh.
We're all family. I'm not letting the side down. I'm just saying that Robert frequently makes decisions based on values that have no relevance anymore.
Do you think I should do it?
I wouldn't countermand your father.
Then why bring it up?
Well, I do, and so does Matthew.
And so does Matthew what? What else has Matthew decided for my family?
Robert?
Don't worry. I don't need to be fed. We're going, all of you, now.
What are you talking about?
Do you know who has prepared this luncheon for you?
Yes, Ethel, our former housemaid.
Who bore a bastard child?
What?
Robert, Ethel has rebuilt her life.
Has she? Do you know what she has built it into?
What do you mean?
I think Cousin Robert is referring to Ethel's work as a prostitute.
Well, of course, these days servants are very hard to find.
I don't think you understand the difficulties she's had to face.
I couldn't care less how she earns her living. Good luck to her. What I care about is that you have exposed my family to scandal.
But who would know?
I can't tell you how people find out these things, but they do. Your gardener, your kitchen maid.
I suppose she has an appropriate costume for every activity.
We're leaving.
Is this because of me, my lord?
No, it's because of his lordship, and we're not leaving. Is that a Charlotte Russe? How delicious.
I hope it's tasty, my lady. Mrs. Patmore gave me some help.
I'm glad to know that Mrs. Patmore has a good heart and does not judge.
Is anyone coming?
It seems a pity to miss such a good pudding. Did you enjoy the concert?
I did. It was a great treat to hear Melba in person.
And the evening, generally?
You mean, did I find it hard to see Mary come alive again? Yes, I did, I confess it. But I don't think my feelings are at all defensible.
They're defensible to me.
But it's immoral to react in such a jealous and selfish way.
If we only had moral thoughts, what would the poor churchman find to do?
I'm fond of Mary. I love her. I don't want her to be alone and unhappy. It makes no sense, even to me.
I don't criticise either you or her. But I hope you find a way to make friends with the world again. Do you enjoy weddings?
Yes, but I'm not going to that one. I'd feel like the wicked fairy at the christening of Sleeping Beauty.
Why would Larry Gray want you to be there? I mean, you of all people.
I'm sure he doesn't. Dickie must have persuaded them to ask me.
But I doubt that. He wouldn't want to subject you to more insults.
Well, who then?
I'd say this is the work of Miss Crookshank. She's the one always making a show of friendship. Why don't I pay a call on her, see if I can winkle out the truth?
I'm sorry I showed it to you now.
Oh, don't be, don't be. Are things going well in my former kingdom?
Cora is settling in. I know it must feel awkward.
Oh, no. I'm yesterday, she's tomorrow. That's the way it is.
You must be feeling very hurt.
Well, the fact is, I might as well be honest. I am angry at the way I have been treated.
I don't blame you.
While angry, I say things some people find hard to forgive. So I have decided to go away. I'd rather vent my rage on the desert air and return when I've regained control of my tongue.
Your self-knowledge is an example to us all.
You don't think I'm wrong?
I'd say the last thing you need at this stage in your life is to quarrel with your son and daughter-in-law.
Precisely. But don't fear, I'll call on Miss Crookshank before I leave.
I suspect she's quite a tough nut.
And I'm quite a tough nut cracker.